Oh yeah, I forgot I'm on the
Burning.
480p. Been banished to 480p.
Yeah, sorry. Just want to make
You're
sure
good.
everything runs smoothly.
I go to town tomorrow. I haven't packed yet. Whoops. We live
Wouldn't
already?
be bad
So,
either. Yeah, we're a little live. We a little live
fun.
as we load
Oh,
in.
we're live. Oh, the announcer box is going.
Announcer bot's going. I don't see anybody else. Well, Tommy Boy, first one loading in. See what happens there.
I
I
is
feel
in
bad
here.
turning off announcer bot because he is, he helps. He's got his moments.
Yeah,
He's,
sometimes. If he's not screaming
all
via
right.
in-game chat.
Look at that. First minute's almost already over. No more heavy fog. I'm looking for any of these other cars. Oh, there we go. We got the Inferno in.
Everyone's logged in now. We're a big
And
game to
here
keep
we
on
go.
but
Starting up. I know we try and usually keep it to two-man broadcast, but it's a Friday night, Josh. If you're not doing nothing else, feel free to come chill with us since it seems like I don't know if you're going to be racing tonight. Well, if you're racing tonight, then be racing tonight. We want as many on the grid as we can get. Definitely looking for some action. Finally, someone willing to take it to the challenge. It's going to be Big Dean Energy starting us off, hopefully strong. All right, so I got that set up there.
everything looks good stream side so far.
Looking good. I forgot to let's rotate the track map so people can see which way the wind is going.
I'd say the same thing.
So 15-kilometer-an-hour wind to start off. Actually, that's going to be for the rest of practice as the weather change already happened. I didn't properly take a look at the standings. I do know Patchy, who's in P2 for the pro class, is not going to be here using one of his drops. So, and I think next season event as well. Not positive.
Let me actually pull up the
Standings there.
standings here.
GT3 season has been a little bit wonky. We've had a lot of people use drops early on who were expecting to see continue on and make the remaining races of the season. So I think after today, we're going to put one dropped in the adjusted column, not two dropped races yet. And then after the next season event, we'll show where the standings lie with both drops. So that should help kind of get a better picture of where things are. But unfortunately, we will have to get through today's events first to see how that shapes out. Nice little carousel here. So I don't know if you've noticed, Jawa, but we don't have any track names. So we're going to get to make them up per usual today.
Oh, awesome. My favorite.
So that one's definitely carousel.
Oh,
I think
definitely.
I think we can call this Vesuvi S, because there's a mountain and there's S's.
I agree with that.
All right. Under the bridge. That's an easy one.
You, you can tell where we took that leap.
Yep.
I
And
mean, the
then
Marlboro Bridge.
this is the final turn too, so that's an
That's
easy one.
true.
Final turn into the start straight. That one's cake. And then turn one is super long, so we could just get away with turn one, and that gets us through the first 2 minutes of broadcast here. As still going, still going, still turning, still turning,
Do we consider
and
that corner a carousel? It does have the little banked carousel.
did
Is it
it?
considered one, though? It did.
Did it have
It's
a
very,
bank
very
to it?
small.
It does have a slight bank to it. How about that? I don't know that I'd go say carousel. I'm gonna stick with turn one on that one.
But for sure, no, the name is definitely more fitting.
And then someone's looking to get things named after the Garito straightaway. We could call this the Garito straightaway. I'm fine with that. We'll see how he does in the race today. If someone passes him in a straight named after himself, it's going to be mighty embarrassing.
It definitely will be. As Inferno's testing out the track limits here.
Got to see the limits. Got to know where you lie.
Most definitely.
Oh, we forgot to name those two corners that turn through the campgrounds or the trailer park. I think that's a more trailer park. You know,
A good name for it. Yeah. It's very fitting.
Ooh.
Tested out those track limits a little bit too much there.
Yeah. Just also testing out the damage limitations there. You do want to know where they lie, so understandable. All right, we'll call maybe this one can be Texaco. I know a lot of corners have it, but we'll call that one there. Oh, Poststrasse. There you go. This is the Poststrasse. I feel like that means something straight. I don't know what Strasse means. I feel like straight.
Close enough for me.
I feel like there's got to be some German people watching our stream ripping their hair out, or at least people who know what these signs say. And that's an easy one, the carousel. You know, I just noticed there was a sign for this one. Are there names to some of these corners that we have just been missing completely?
You know, I'm not sure. I haven't seen any. There very well could be.
Yeah, look at that. So this one is Brunchen.
We're definitely not going to butcher any of these.
No. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, I see another sign. Let's see. I'm
not even going to attempt that one.
The Antonie's Bush. The Antonie's Bush.
That should be Antonio's Bush.
The Tiergarten. That's an easy one. I like that. Tiergarten. What does this one say? It just says to the Nürburgring. Okay, that's different. Oh, so we might be able to drive this in AC Evo. If it's that close to the ring.
Josh calling that section the oh shit section.
Yeah, I see that.
Also another great name. It seems like some of them have names, others don't.
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of names there. I'm going to bounce over to one of our newcomers in the season, but not to a real rookie season in general, as we've got Zach D on the grid for the first time in Season 5. Missed a few more races than the drops will allow for, but knowing him, I'm sure he'll still be mighty competitive till the end and help shake up the standings a little bit, just with his presence alone.
Most definitely. He's been here for quite a long time.
Flugplatz was that one.
I think there's a name. There's actually a corner on the Nords that has that exact name. If I'm correct with that.
Schwanz straightaway. Yeah, dude, I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember these ones. We'll make them up as we go. We'll edit in post.
Let these guys get their practice in, another 20 minutes until we have our qualifying session. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of our longer races today.
Yes, this is going to be a 45-minute race. They're going to have a 225%. 225% fuel rate, so they're definitely going to have to make a pit stop some point throughout the race. So strategy once again coming into play here today.
Most definitely. We'll see how they do. We did see in the MX5 race, we had some differing strategies here. So we'll see if the same strategies are applied to the GT3 race.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if we can get a little shot of that group going through here. Looks like Rev is leading the way. I'm trying to see who he's got behind him. Looks like Seb Bellew in the BMW. And if we can get a little further back, let's peek in maybe with Seb. We'll see the car coming up the rear. I think it's going to be Botlando in the GTR.
GTRs, if I remember correctly, were very dominant last race. We'll see if they can maintain that reputation.
Yeah, I mean they do have a couple of nice straightaways to make up. Oh, I stand corrected. That's actually going to be the Inferno in the 911. But yeah, those GTRs have a couple of nice straightaway sections where they should be able to get the jump on. It actually looks like Botlando's doing pretty well to start things off. Only 10 minutes into the practice session with a 2:36.6. A lot of racers not yet out on the field though. Still waiting for a few more to join. Heifer bends because there's cow signs. Oh, I just caught up to that. All right. Well, let's take a look over with Bullet here. So I'm going to pull up the standings real quick. Let's take a look in relation to the overall grid. So we'll start from the top. Lando does not have Boat in the race with him. He is currently 1 point ahead of Tommy Boy, but looking much more in form at this stage in today's practice. We then go to Seb Bellew, who is in P3, needs to stay ahead of Project Purple and Patchy, as well as Floaty, none of which seem to be in the race yet, so he's doing pretty good. Rev 174 is trying to catch up to Floaty and hold off Dapper, neither of who are in the race yet. Tommy Boy trying to catch up to Botlando and hold off Osh, who will not be racing today. I think we're sensing a theme here, huh?
You're
Bullet
definitely sensing a theme.
looking to catch up to Miguel Cizeron, who has not yet joined the grid, and hold off Kersey, who has not yet joined the grid. Big Teen Energy holding off Slay and trying to catch Hunter. Slay has just joined the grid, so a little bit there of action, and then we'll see how the remainder plays out. But it seems like everyone's going to get a good opportunity for some points today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with this many racers not being here today, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for some of the other racers to gain some points and put themselves close to their opponent, if not ahead of their opponent.
Yep, and I stand corrected. Osh will be racing today. They just decided that they didn't need as much practice as the rest of the grid, giving the rest of the grid a chance to try and catch up. As we watch this battle between the Audis in practice here, Project Purple now on the track. So it seems like some people are hearing us almost summon them to the battlefield. But whatever it takes, I gotta say, these guys do look good following each other down the straightaway, huh?
It does look super awesome having the Audis following each other through the these corners here.
Yeah, I mean, these German roads definitely built for them, and the Porsche going to have a little bit of the advantage. Just a reminder, there is no Mercedes this season, so only 2 cars with the home field advantage today.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think BMW is also considered to be German.
You know what? That's I definitely said BMW. For some reason, the broadcast is set to be deleted after the stream finished, so we'll never be able to know for sure what I did say. But there was BMW in there. I said 3, not 2. Don't worry.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I must have just misheard you.
That's crazy. I can't believe that. But
Alrighty, let's take a look here at some of the times here. Botlando puts down a heater of a lap, 2:35.5, followed by Sebastian Bellew at 2:35.9. Seems like a lot of these guys are getting pretty confident now, putting up some more decent times we saw at the beginning of practice. Everyone's getting confident with the car and their setup today.
Absolutely. I am curious to see where the manufacturer's cup lies. That is one thing that I didn't post in the overall standing. So right now in the NA series, the Lamborghini still up front with 53 points, GTRs with 48, and BMWs with 47, and Porsche with 46. So actually a real close battle going on just behind the Lamborghini. If there is no Lamborghini in the race today, and I believe Boat is the only one, that's going to be a big advantage in the Cup for these guys. And only one race is dropped, but if that dropped race is a 0, then some of these other performances will stand. So we'll see how that changes that up.
Most definitely. I actually drove the Huracan a little bit in the test server for the Le Mans race we had last week, and I really quite enjoyed it. Surprised we don't have more racers choosing the Huracan.
Yeah, I mean it certainly has a very nice feel to it. I will say it's got a tremendous amount of potential. It's just you really have to know how to handle it. It's one of those cars where it's not forgiving. So you have to drive it. You can't let it drive you.
Most definitely.
A little harsh break there as
Seeing
Rev pulls off. And we'll catch up with Tommy Boy. He did shave 3 seconds off his time so far, but Lando shaving another second down is currently 2 seconds ahead of Tommy Boy. It's a decent gapping between them, but we do see how it ends up happening. No matter which way Qual shakes up, we'll find a moment in the race where these guys are neck and neck for probably 3 or 4 laps, as is tradition. Oh, look at
yeah,
that. Is that Lando? I
I
think it
think
is.
that might be.
Magnets.
They stuck together in the previous race. We'll see if they stick together this race. It is a longer race, though. I mean, it's a longer track than we're used to here in the majority of the GT3 races, as well as a 45-minute race.
Yeah, I
So I'm
think
very
this is
curious to
only the
see how that shakes
second
things up.
45-minute race of the season. I don't remember what the first one was, but I vaguely remember doing one, unless I'm thinking of the test race at Le Mans. Ooh, it's
I'm trying to think, I
Lando
haven't actually
struggles a little bit.
driven this track myself. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. I do believe I drove this for an open race at one point in the either the Audi or the Z4, but it definitely it's a tricky track to drive if you're very used to Nords, which a lot of our guys are, because there's a lot of corners that feel reminiscent of the modern one and the vintage one. So regardless of which layout you're familiar with, um, and it makes it difficult because you start to fall into a groove that isn't actually there, and you find yourself preparing for the wrong corners that don't exist.
Yeah, there's definitely some similarities as we see here with those two corners in general. Those remind me of the corners after the foxhole there.
Yeah, I mean, my eyes are going to be on one racer in particular tonight. Hunter, I know, is one of our members who has, I believe, one of the longest distances driven on Nords in our server currently. Like, not our personal server, but just out of anyone in the community. And I think this track would give them a little bit of difficulty just with how familiar they are with Nords as it stands. But we'll see if Hunter does join us later, how they make out. They are pretty good at adapting on the fly, as we've seen from some of their earlier performances.
You know, this track definitely could be difficult for people who are used to North Side, but it also could give them a one-up just because they're used to the amount of times the car gets unsettled on Nordschleife. It may give them a little bit of a one-up just being able to control the car just a little bit more than some of their opponents.
Yeah. I did see that Hunter is in the pits somewhere. Trying to see if I can catch a glimpse, but I don't see them on our end. But according to the live timings, Hunter is either trying to connect.
Oh,
Oh,
I
maybe
think we
that's
see him
them.
just joining in there
There
in
we
the
go.
purple Z4 there.
Well, so we'll have my question answered in just a little bit. For now, we'll give them a moment to kind of get back on their lapping flow, settle in with a setup. Josh saying the track is relatively comfortable after 4 to 5 laps, which is only really about, what, 20 minutes there? Or, sorry, 10 to 15 minutes. That's not too bad to get up to a competitive place, not necessarily a race pace, but
Well, most definitely, some of these tracks take these drivers an hour or two to get comfortable with, and this one being a 15-minute track, I'll say, is definitely nice. We'll
so
see if all
maybe it's
drivers feel the
similar.
same.
Sorry, cut you off.
The same. We'll see if all the other drivers feel the same about what Josh is saying there. About 4 to 5 laps to get comfortable.
I wonder if maybe it's similar enough that it might be an advantage.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be. The layout itself isn't super similar, but the style it can be. Long straights that are windy with some places to unsettle the car. So very well could be.
I would imagine these guys are using setups from that track, maybe the gear ratio modified just a little bit, as I don't think you're going to be hitting the top speeds you would on the Nord straight. But sure, they're not going too slow.
For sure, definitely not quite as long of a straight as the Nords Hub, but you have similar styles, right? So you're running similar suspension setups, similar aero setups that you would be on the Nords itself. As we see Hunter now on that big long back straight coming into the right-hander. I've forgotten the name of this corner already.
I don't know that we named that one, but this one is Carousel.
It's hard to forget.
Nice and easy towards Vesuvius. See, that one I can't forget either. See, I feel like our names are just easier.
Most definitely. I do enjoy this S here. It is very simple S, but it also has a lot of places for the different types of lines you could take through it. Almost similar to the Spa S's, but a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I am hoping the grid it manages to stay together all the way around to this point, because that is going to be one nice shot of everybody battling it out.
As we see Fuzzy joining us here in pit road, just exiting now.
Bringing us to 12 on the grid there. So getting closer to a more comfortable number. I feel like these guys do pretty good when there's about 15 to 20 is kind of the sweet spot for them. Keeps everybody nice and competitive and keeps a nice, healthy grouping, you know? Although in the late races, both MX5 and GT3, I feel like we've started to see some packs form.
Yeah, I mean, normally the MX5 races we do see a larger turnout, and you get to see those 3 or 4 packs form. But we have seen about 2 packs, mostly in these races form. Like you get the guys that are more confident at the track, that have probably spent a little more time practicing up there in front, about 5 or 6 drivers normally. And then you have the rest of the pack either scattered around or grouped up towards the about 5 seconds back.
Yeah, and one thing that always ends up having a role is those reverse grid races. But at this stage, that's not going to be an issue because it's one single 45-minute race. So I think that's why we're going to see guys start to take qualifying a little bit more seriously today. I actually have noticed we have a lot of guys who have been getting their medium tire practice in now. That way, I think they can just focus on throwing on the softs and a low fuel setup to make the most of the next half hour.
Most definitely. We will see the qualifying here start in, let me see what it is, 4 minutes and 12 seconds. So we'll see how these guys, how much faster their lap times improve or how much faster they get with these lap times with some of these guys running mediums currently. I see Project Purple um, is on a current medium tire, as well as the Inferno Hunter. I do see that Slay is currently on a hard tire, which could
On a
be a
hard
strategy.
tire.
He may be going for a no tire swap at just fuel, which is a little interesting considering it takes about the same amount of time to swap tires as it does to put half a tank of gas in. So not
Well,
sure
you know, you
what his
say
plan is
that, but
there.
is that true for the GT3s? I always felt like it was a relatively long one. MX-5 is definitely not worth a tire swap, unless it's forced. But GT3s, is that the? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know if you've done it recently or not.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the GT3 tires change. It doesn't take too long compared to the fuel stop. Not sure what these guys are going to be trying to do for fuel. If they're going to be trying to run a full tank and just going as far as they can with that one full tank of fuel, or if they're going to be running a lighter fuel load and going for a stop a little bit earlier. It could also be an issue with tires. You never know. Could be overheating those tires a little bit and burning them up earlier than they would like.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that familiar red stripe there shows that Fudzy is not one to worry about the softs, or sorry, the hards or the mediums just yet. BMWs definitely tend to be able to stretch those softs a little bit further. So if a tire swap's in the cards, then I'll definitely imagine we'll see all the BMWs sticking with softs throughout. I think the Audis were able to, the last time we did a 45-minute race, do a double softs. So I would think they do so as well. Question will always come down to the Porsches and the Ferraris as they eat those tires up.
I'm seeing Josh now saying you can double soft this track pretty easily. So going to be very curious to see what these racers decide to do with their tire choice this evening.
I think we've hit that moment where we're trying to take a second to admire the work that's gone into the track, although looks like it might be a little bit trickier with the size of this one to really take a good look at the contents. So we'll try and grab it on the fly. Ooh, as it looks like a little bit of a friendly competition is shaping up in front of us. Big Dean Energy catching up to Project Purple. About a second separating their best lap time, so we might see them catching up to each other through Vesuvius.
We're seeing Dean look really comfortable on this track tonight. It's good to see him out here in that awesome green Ferrari livery.
Absolutely, and it's got some nice highlights of red there. It actually is reminiscent of your and Josh's liveries for the endurance race. A
It definitely
little
is.
darker on the green, but
It definitely reminds me of the Radical and the Volvo livery that we did for Feldberg.
yeah, and I gotta say those colors definitely fit into the German landscape that was Feldberg Ring, as this one does seem to look as at home as a Ferrari can on a German track. There's just something about the body line versus the countryscape. You can tell this Ferrari wants to go back home. But that might mean it pushes pretty hard to get there, as Dean, only 0.8 seconds away from the track at hand, or the lead lap at hand.
Yeah, he's only about 7 tenths off, so not too far at all. He's only a little over 3.5 tenths off of his off of P2 being Sebastian here in the Z4. Sebastian himself only being 0.38 off of the driver in front of him. As I say that, Sebastian just overtakes Potlando, and that puts him 7 tenths in front of Potlando, with Sebastian being the first person tonight to crack the 234.
Well, ring the Undertaker bell. Someone cue the intro. The Lamborghini has arrived on scene, currently sitting in pit row, getting ready to head out and cause some mayhem. So for those who don't know, that 234 is mighty impressive, but Boat managed to secure a 231 during the private practice laps earlier in the week. So if Bo can get back to that pace today, that's going to be a dangerous competition for our grid here.
Most definitely, Boda's shown himself to be one of the higher level drivers in this season so far. We'll see if he can continue to keep his reputation up, especially with this track, as we've seen. He's the only person driving the Lamborghini.
Yeah, we'll see if we can catch a glimpse of that Lambo, as I'm sure it should be somewhere up and down the grid here. There we go. And the matte black menace that is the 96 car. Boat sitting here on the grid, currently leading the season overall in the class, however you want to call it. He's got it at the moment, so it will be one hell of a racer to watch. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm as well. I love these longer races. They're kind of my style of racing, so I'm really curious to see how these drivers do tonight. It's a
Have you
track that I wish I
commentated
could be racing on.
one of the longer GT3s with me yet?
I don't know if I've done the 45 minute. I know I've done a 45 in the MX5s, but I don't think I've done one in the GT3s quite yet.
It's certainly a lot more interesting because you got that variance of cars.
But you're currently going robot mode, so I can't quite hear you.
I'm not gonna lie, I was grabbing a beer.
I wish I could grab one. I don't have any currently. Could go grab some real quick from the store if we both want to have a beer. I'll be back before qualifying even ends.
Yeah, I mean, you got a half hour. You do what you gotta do. I'll be here. Looks like these boys are about to hit their overtime as well.
Well, then let me go do just that, and let's go grab a 6-pack right now so we can both enjoy the night.
I hope you live near a corner store.
I live about 3 minutes from one.
Okay, all right.
Then
yes, go for it.
shortly.
It's not a timing thing. It's more of a concern thing. But like that's fair. That makes sense. Go for it. Alrighty, y'all. Well, we got everybody slowly heading back into pits here. I know we didn't do interviews today. We just still working out some permission kinks as far as the broadcast voice channel goes, as we push to make things a little bit more streamlined. Again, our goal is to have every race with some form of a broadcast AI at the bare minimum. So, going to be some changes and stuff in the works as we welcome some people to help us do that. So some solid times so far. Boat not bothering to get out during practice, so we won't be able to see a sample of what's in store just yet. But I'm sure we will in just a moment's time. All right, so let's take a look at the times so far. It looks like 12 racers have put up times out of the 14 who have joined so far. And with Osh confirming they'll be in the race, that does bring us to 15, the lower end of the magical numbers we were looking for. So should be a good grid tonight. Currently, though, we've got Seb Bellew with a 234, Botlando a 235, and a grid that is ready to get back out there as those times get washed away as we flip over to our practice session. So 0 to Hero is going to be our starting car on the grid. You can see everybody start to group up a little bit here, which is always fun to see early on, but I think these guys are going to want to put a little space between them. Let's see where the biggest pack ends up coming out. I actually don't see anyone too close together just yet. We'll try and get a good shot through those S's that we were looking for later on. Got a reminder to myself to give Zero a proper livery, as nice as the maroon one is. Getting a beautiful sunrise here as we head into the early outlap of qualifying. The wind is kicked up a little bit, but so has the track temp. So 20 degree track temp with 19 km/h winds. That's certainly going to be pushing these guys. Right now, it's actually almost a bit of a headwind as that Zero comes around the corner here into the Texaco Bend. And into the Poststrasse. So some of these names are going to be the real ones. Some of them are not, just depending on what we've got here. And this one, I think we went for the name, which I won't see, so we'll call it Flatbed Corner. And he heads towards the carousel. Not a lot of grouping happening there. Looks like everyone's trying to give each other space to get some clean laps in. You see some contact with environment as Bullet goes into a wall at 171 km/h. Zero getting ever closer and closer to Vesuvi S, which is what we were hoping to get a shot of, as we see a few other cars starting to head through with them. And again, if we can get everybody nice and bunched up, the lap one leading all the way up into this point, this should be a nice shot of our overall grid there. 1 second. And we'll jump on with Tommy Boy here, as he's going to be the last one in the starting group to head out on their outlap. You can see he's already starting to try and put a little distance between himself and the man in front, leave room for error. Not so much for himself, but for the guy in front and the guy in front of the guy in front. You never know what's going to happen around these final bends. You want to have all the space and speed you can. 26 minutes remaining and one weather change, so definitely want to take advantage of whatever opportunities you get. You never know if that wind change that's coming next is going to help or hurt you, as Tom now finds himself the leader of a 3-man group, so a little bit of pressure on this outlap. He put up a 3:11 on the last one. Looks like he's currently dancing with a 41, heading for first corner. Call it Vidal. Into the Martini Bend. Take a peek real quick behind and see who some of these racers are. 2 guys pushing each other along here. I think that's going to be Zach Dickinson, chased down by Fudzy. Fudzy in Zach's old car, the BMW. Similar livery to the BMW Mafia of Season 4, but with a twist for sure. Most notably that Fudz Motorsport, or Fudz Motorsport, I should say, logo on the side. Warming up those tires, as I believe this is an outlap for Fudz, so not really worrying too hard. 0 to Hero, on the other hand, pushing at the moment, looking for a chance at a 2:35 currently. That is definitely some whopping pace. Hopefully we are on track for a clean lap, which we do seem to be through Vesuvius. So that is definitely going to be a good chip off the block and a nice way to start things off. A little bit of space between Zero and Project Purple behind. Will that be enough to keep him in a strong starting position? So I'll find out in a second here. Zero actually managed to pull off a 2:33 in the GTR. So as Jawa was saying earlier, these guys are going to have a strong chance to show off the top speeds. Project Purple not far behind in that Audi with a 234. We'll see as Bot Lando looking to be one of our next racers across the line. I think actually we'll get a few more going up in front. So we've got Tommy Boy went up with a 234, the Inferno a 239. A couple more guys slowly heading out and around the line. I really feel like the GTRs do better when they're driving together. They really should try and find a way to even maybe do some qualifying laps together, because they seem to push each other along pretty strong here. Lando's definitely starting out with the pace, so Tommy Boy might be able to pick up a thing or two from a thing or two. And I thought I heard a familiar engine in the background. That's going to be the 96 car of Boat. Not sure. I feel like the volume is just a touch low. It is, as we usually operate around there. Now you can hear the roar of that Lamborghini engine just a little bit clearer. I couldn't hear the obnoxious backfire that triggers every bone in an AHOA body to call 911 and scream out the window. That is Boat style, as comes out strong with a 232.2. That is definitely an amazing entry into the field, as already starting to gain time through turn 1. Quick on the acceleration through the Garito straight towards the Vidal corner. Looks like we are in for another strong lap. Let's take a look now at Seb Bellew. Seb was pushing real hard during the practice and practice session, looking to get back on that pace through qualifying here. Hasn't fully been able to do so, but finds themselves 3 seconds faster at the moment. May have had a spin somewhere or just didn't get given a clean lap due to a cut, but doesn't look like that time is near where we were seeing during our qualifying session, our practice session. So as we head towards the bridge, or head under the bridge through the Tier Garden, I don't see Seb gaining a lot of time at the moment. A little bit of a track cut and a harsh turn there. That's going to be where the big mistake was on the previous lap, and goes deep again on this lap. But managed to shave off at least a good chunk of time and get into the top 5 even. I was going to say 10, but cuts off just enough time to squeeze in front of Rev 4, but then is immediately knocked out by Fudzy behind. And we'll be looking for another opportunity. Let's bounce over to Bot Lando, still looking to set up his hot lap, as we did see he was one of our top performers during practice. Still only 14 on the grid, but we see El Garito has officially joined, dialing in some setups now, and will be out to make an attempt shortly. What can we do for you, Akio? You see Bullet also hasn't set up a lap, nor has Dean Energy, so we'll try and peek in with those guys. Dean definitely on a hot lap here, so we'll see how he does heading into Vesuvius. I think in front of him, he's actually got Bullet, so we'll get 2 birds with 1 stone. Akio, not sure if you heard me, but definitely here to help you. Ooh, so we see Bullet go into the wall there, unfortunately, around turn 1. Just gonna take a quick second here to check, make sure I didn't have any messages. Nope, doesn't look like anything there. As we'll resume with Tommy Boy, as the broadcast gods have decided. Tommy Boy currently at a 234, struggling to get on the other end of it, but still close. Just needs to find a few more seconds through Tiergarten here. Just a few tenths really will do it. But why not be a little bit greedy? Take a strong line through the final corner here. Already up 3/10. It's going to be a race across the line. Oh, not as much as he finds the acceleration to power through. That might be enough actually to catch up to Botlando. It is. So these guys carrying on the tradition of competing mostly with each other, 0 to hero though, showing that the 233 might be where this Nissan tops out, as all three of these guys are fighting very close together. As I say that, we did see 0 to hero momentarily and continuously 3/10 up on his time, so could be wrong. As we see E Great appear on the leaderboard, that means Ash has officially set out on an out lap with 18 minutes remaining. 0 still up on his time a little bit through Vesuvius. It all comes down to the final turn though. Oh, and it was just a little bit rough, so that cost him all 3/10 right there. Hopefully he left a little bit of time on the board to gain through Tiergarten, as that hope of the 32 is momentarily slipped away. Doesn't have to be gone for good. A strong exit could be the difference. And unfortunately, there was not enough time to be found in those final few corners. Let's bounce around to someone we haven't checked in on in a little bit. We'll see Slay in the Paper Cup Porsche, actually coming out to the end of an outlet. So we'll give them a little bit of time to work on what they got. Hunter, 2 seconds off their time currently, heading into, don't even know if we ended up naming that one, but Flugets, I think, was the name of this straight, so that's what we're going with. And the Texaco Bend. See, that's an easy one. Texaco Bend into the Post-Ross. We've got Hunter at a 237, a little ways off the pace, but sticking together with his BMW brethren. We'll see if Seb Bellew can maybe get back up to those 235, 234s that we were seeing from him earlier. Picked a bad time to check in, so we'll let him complete that lap and get back out on that pace. Can Hunter find those 3 seconds back somewhere else in the grid? Not gonna lie, we don't see a lot of time being gained alongside the Deltas here. I'm looking now at Rev 174 to see if maybe Rev can make something happen. Getting pretty close now, 3/10 gained in the final corner, but lost a little bit more through the exit and won't have the acceleration to catch up to Seb, but will chip away at the time just a little bit.
Alright, I'm joining you again, Buggy.
Hey, welcome back.
Try to make it quick for you.
No, appreciate it. As predicted, Boat did end up getting into the 231s. We have all 3 Nissans in the 233s with purple just ahead of them. And then we've got Fudzy, the odd beamer, out in the 234. Big Dean Energy and Zach with 235s. The rest of the beamer squad with 237s. The Inferno with a 238. Slay with a 239, and no time from Bullet or El Garito the Great in the Porsche 911 that we're watching currently. We finally get that weather change we were talking about, so that turns it to 22-degree track temps with 12-kilometer-an-hour wind. The angle of the wind has not been one to particularly help them in today's events.
Yeah, we haven't seen wind affecting these cars too much in the past events. I'm curious if it does for this one with these longer straights.
There was a
We'll definitely
19
see.
kilometer an hour wind for the start of qual. So I'm wondering if the times change now, that could definitely show that there was having a little bit of an effect with that much of a crosswind on them through some of these turns.
I'm curious as well to see how that plays out. So we're on board with El Garito the Great. In the awesome Repsol Porsche.
0 to hero, by the way, with a 232. But as Josh comes across the line, we'll stick with him and see what he can bring to the table as he goes for his first hot lap of the event. It's one hell of a way to make a debut. 13 minutes left until a 45-minute race with a pit stop. Not getting time really to test strategies, just going to have to go all out and send it for the lap. I do see that familiar red stripe on the tire, so we know he is dedicated to setting a good qualifying time. But how will that affect the race performance? We'll have to see. Bullet, the car in front, has officially set a time, 2:45.8, so they'll be looking to improve. They might not make it easy for Josh to get around. And
I am
Josh,
seeing these curves are pretty brutal on this track, just as they would be in the actual Nords life. So I'm curious to see if these racers are going to be able to adapt to that.
so the key with this one is to keep your tires on the curb. These curves have a sharp drop off that actually act as a bit of a hook around the edge, like corners. So they'll carry you around and launch you off because of that ledge at the same time. So very tricky spot to be in. You really have to dance around that fine line. Josh, the madman on his lights, really wants to make sure that he gets through cleanly on Bullet.
I can respect that as a personal certified flasher as well. We love seeing that out on the
Maybe
track.
we find another name for it. A hazard lighter.
So a great way to put it.
Yeah.
You love
It's
flashing the lights.
a wordy way, I'll admit, but
Doesn't sound too good out of context.
a flicker. You're a certified flicker. Flickerer. The important debates of the broadcast team.
No, exactly. What sounds the least bad?
This has got to be a good lap considering I can't tell anywhere near what the time is. So I'm just blindly hoping that we haven't wasted the last 2 minutes and hopefully 34 seconds. 33. Well, that's not one bad debut from the man from across the pond, huh?
Not at all. Coming out strong. First actual lap being a 2:33 is definitely impressive. Putting himself in the 4th position. We'll see if he can improve upon that with these last 10 minutes.
Yeah, we definitely see a wedge being put in between the Nissan squad there, as well as the BMWs. I think at one point last race, we had all the manufacturers kind of bunched up together with their team or co-manufacturer driver, however you'd say it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It seems like a lot of these guys have picked cars they feel comfortable with, and it just happened to be that they're all relatively in the same class of speed in most of these races. So I'm curious to see if that plays out the same as it did last race. We'll see. Definitely a very different track than what we had last week. So definitely interested to see if the difference in track style takes much of an effect on these drivers.
Absolutely. I mean, I will say your prediction of the Nissans having an advantage with that speed again is so far looking pretty good, as Zero seems to be the only one within any sort of a striking distance to that Lamborghini.
Yeah, I drove the Lamborghini around Le Mans for practice for a bit. I didn't get to race in that race, but I did find that you could get away with running a super low amount of aero on the Lamborghini itself because it had such a the car itself was shaped such like a wedge that it already had enough downforce. And I think I was running 1 or 2 degrees of rear wing for Le Mans, so I'm curious to see if Boat has found a way to make the lower aero setups work for him.
And it looks like Big D and Energy letting a few guys through. That's going to be Seb Bellew trying to get a little bit closer up to the top grouping. I dare say Seb's having a bit of an off season this time around. Seb usually towards the very top of the grid. I don't think the tracks are just clicking for him the way they have been in our previous seasons, but I'm sure that we'll see him back. He's due for an outbreak performance anytime now, as he's won several races in the past.
For sure, and it could be a little bit of like they say, riders have writer's block and drivers can have the same issue. Could be just a plateau, just haven't been able to find that the next technique that really clicked with him to improve his lap times, um, which I definitely have had myself. I've spent those couple months where I couldn't find any pace around any track compared to what I thought I should be improving or how I should be improving. So definitely another possibility for him. Definitely not running slow, but as we've seen throughout the seasons, all these races are getting better and better as time goes on.
Yeah. Oop. Trying to just grab on here with Project Purple as they top way out. I feel like they're losing a lot of time right there, but they don't seem to be too far off the pace. They're right in the hunt with those guys up top. But I don't know. That might be where that final half second is. If they're
We've
topping out
seen
on
Project
that
Purple doing
straight.
that as well. Yeah, I mean it's definitely interesting. I've seen Project Purple top out in a couple races before on some of these straights, and it seems like it hasn't hurt them too much. But you're definitely right; it could be costing them quite a bit of time. Then again, shift times do slow you down, right? So he may just have found that topping the car out and maintaining that top speed is faster than shifting and getting a mile per hour or two faster.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly could be. And taking a look at the overall leaderboard, he is only 3 kilometers an hour, or sorry, 2.5 kilometers an hour off of the Lamborghini's pace and the GTR's pace from what I'm seeing. So I can't say that he's really losing too much. It could be that
Yeah,
half second.
it very well could be, but then again, could just be him not wanting to waste time with the shift. And
Hmm.
if we did have a ton of engine damage on, that would definitely hurt him over the long run. But um,
I think
these
what
games,
is it, 45% damage or something like that, or 25% damage. So yeah, definitely won't be anything too bad. Actually didn't top out on that straightaway as I thought they were going to, so might not be as bad as I thought if it's only that one little section there that it comes into play. Let's take a look
very
at another spot on the grid here. I'm curious to see how the Inferno is faring. We haven't really checked in, but we did see that they shaved a second off of their time on their previous lap. They're actually heading across the grid right now for a fresh one, so we'll give them a little bit of time to focus. Looks like Tommy Boy's a little bit further along, but still on an outlap. How about Hunter? Struggling with an opportunity to make some time here. Only needs to get half a second on this lap to overtake his co-driver there, Rev 174 in the 904 BMW. Needs to find a second through Tier Garden. It's a big ask, but you never know what the current hot lap looked like. And it does not look like that's going to be a good opportunity there. I see a little bit of a grid or a little bunching up happening. We'll check in with Bont Lando. He's got Osh the Great behind him. And that is going to be Big D and Energy, I believe, in front in the Ferrari. So we hear a little topping out from the GTRs as well.
yeah, it seems like it's pretty consistent around the grid with where they're topping out at. That doesn't seem to be affecting them too much, considering Lando is one of the other faster drivers today, sitting in that
Ooh.
P6 position in a 2:33.7. Decides that he wants a little bit of space between the car in front of him and behind him. That may
Yeah,
have been an issue there because Slay is coming up pretty quick on the his rear end there.
I was just gonna say, although he does seem to have a much faster time than Slay, so I guess the idea is Josh currently lapping about a second ahead. He doesn't want to interfere with that lap, but knows that he's 3 seconds ahead of Slay, so doesn't want Slay to interfere with what could be one of his last two chances when he gets back around the line. Interesting that he was able to stop like that and doesn't really seem to be too far off of his delta. Although actually the delta seems to be frozen now that I'm looking at it properly. So that could be why. El Garrido the Great weaving like crazy up ahead. So I take it that he's mentally preparing himself for one more shot at this thing. Can he find those 400ths of a second that he needs to beat zero? He's going to get two chances to do it. But we're only going to be tuning in for the one. So already looking to try and find a little bit of time through turn one. It's a long one with a lot of opportunity. And he exits a little behind the pace, but up on the acceleration. So he's able to make it up down the Garrido straight. Named after this very own Garrido the Great, with a clean line through Vidal. But still losing time, hits the curb, and that will be the end of the opportunity. At the rate these guys are going, they have to hit every part of the lap perfectly. But Lando already about a second down, so I don't know if we're going to see one from him either. Anyone in particular you're looking to get your eyes on there, Jawa?
I'm really curious about Boat. I know that he's currently sitting in pits, kind of showing his dominance off, saying, "Hey, I've already put up my lap there. I don't need any more." So
Mm.
definitely curious to see what he does during the race itself. But I am watching a few of these guys. It seems Zero to Hero and that GTR is putting up a 2:32.1, with Garrido the Great just behind him, the 2:32.17. So those two, I'm really curious to see how they do during the race because of how close they are here in qualifying. But if I'm being honest with you, I'm super excited just to see the entire grid. Is all these guys are relatively close, and only having a couple seconds off of each other all the way through P14, which is really going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very tight grid, especially considering the length of the track. Usually there's a lot more opportunity to space that out, but they're doing a good job of keeping themselves within a competitive range. Bullet's current fastest lap of a 2:45 is with a spin through the first section that they were managed to keep on track. So they're actually a little bit closer to a 2:39 pace. So even down to P15, we're not too far out of the hunt. Wow, just got to stick within the track limits to get that time registered, but almost there. 59
Yeah,
seconds remaining. Sorry?
I'm just watching a Bullet now on his Delta, and the current lap that he's on. It seems, oh, as I said, that he does put
Oh,
up
wow.
a new best lap as a 2:38.851 for himself, putting himself even closer to the guys in front of him, putting himself in front of the Inferno there by just a few tenths, or actually a few hundredths of a second.
Very interesting. I do want to make note that Zero to Hero actually, I believe, holds the fastest Sector 1. Boat has the fastest Sector 3. And I'm not positive, but I think I saw El Garrido the Great put up the fastest Sector 2 at one point.
Yeah, it seems like our top three drivers definitely have their own sectors that they're most confident in. So definitely curious to see if they can capitalize in those sectors here at the beginning of the race when the entire grid is bunched up together.
Absolutely. So, overtime has officially begun. That is going to be our last racer. It looks like Fudzy will be doing the honors of finishing out qualifying. They're going to have the final attempt to get across the grid, but let's look from top to bottom. Zero to Hero on an out lap, or sorry, on a hot lap, but just starting. El Garito the Great currently underway with theirs heading into post-drops, but still has an opportunity to make up a little bit of time. Project Purple certainly looking for a chance, but has some traffic opportunity coming in front in the form of, I want to say, the Paper Cup Porsche. That it is, if Project Purple goes off the track and won't be able to make the most of that opportunity. Let's take a look back around to El Garito the Great through the carousel. That's going to be the next racer with a strong chance. Currently only a few tenths separating, sorry, a few hundredths separating him and the second place car of Zero to Hero, as he's got to find a single tenth, or at least a tenth and a half through Tiergarten, and the final turn. Already finds that 10th, but loses it for a second. Can he get it back? Unfortunately not, as he's going to head towards the line, not with enough of an improvement. Checking in with Bot Lando, who's going to be currently 6/10 up. It is a great improvement, brings him closer to Tommy Boy, but will not get the job done overall. I believe our next opportunity is going to go to Slave 40 and the Paper Cut Porsche, who will not get a chance to get some time through there. Oh, and we just tune in at a terrible, unfortunate moment there. Zero to Hero had found an opportunity to make up just a little bit of time. Maybe not enough to catch boat, but possibly enough to get into that 31 club. And just goes a little too deep. So no major changes here at the end. These guys are now going to have to head into pits and start planning, as it's time to get ready for the race. Do you think we make it through a lap today?
I think that we have a good solid chance of doing it. The track doesn't get super technical until towards the last sector, so I'm really curious to see if we can get through a whole lap with no incidents. But in the classic Triple R way, uh, there's always a chance
I
that
did
we
not
punt
end
and
up
we have to go through.
looking at the replay from the EU race. Do you know what happened in turn one? I was surprised. I think it was a late break. Was that what I saw?
I have no idea. I was over at the airport all day, so I have not been able to check anything. I literally just hopped on this evening and
No,
hope
welcome back.
to make it a decent show here on the broadcast.
Yeah. Well, I vaguely remember, but I know someone just was a little late on the brakes for the amount of caution you need for this turn one and a larger grid, and I think it actually spun out 5 racers or 4 racers and led to 2 disconnects shortly after.
Well, unfortunately, we always hate to see the other disconnects that early on in the race. We always say you should stick it out through the entire race, because you never know what can happen.
Especially with when the rest of your grid has a history of disconnecting, you get points just for finishing, and a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's no downside to finishing a race. Let's put it that way.
Exactly, because you could have a very strong performance, but everybody else in your class shows up and shows out, and you might have to use that as a drop. Whereas just simply finishing a race and only 2 or 3 members of your class were there could get you a significant amount of points to hold on to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if your entire class decides to disconnect and not finish the race, you're sitting there at P1 in your class. So definitely a lot of points to be gained from those incidents.
It's just an incident.
So it's an incident.
So
That's the
let's
best
take a
way to
look.
put
I
it.
think we got the starting line is going to be over here. And am I saying 3 wide?
It very well looks to be that way. Um, I'm not sure if we will get 3 wide, but that would be very interesting if we do.
if it's 3 wide, that might explain a little bit of the chaos from the earlier grid. Is it 4 wide? 1, 2, 3, 4, do you think?
That would be really rough if it was 4 wide, especially going into T1 there.
Um,
We'll have to wait and see.
I think I remember that why this track was used for an open event and not a season. But here we are. The EU guys managed to finish their event. We'll see how ours goes. With I'm guessing only a little bit of time left here in the wait period before we officially begin.
Only a minute or two before these racers are on grid and getting ready to go. They're all just finishing up their final setup adjustments. I'm curious to see how the pit stop goes because of how big this pit lane is. A lot of
It's
time to be gained and lost here.
Yeah, it's very, very long pit lane, so you got to be very precise. And we've seen people overtaking the pits before, so you want to be dead on and brake as late as possible. We'll have our answer here in a second about the way the starting grid is lined up. Thankfully, it's in a reasonable manner, per usual. Osh, the great, momentarily disappearing and coming back. Boat lined up on the inside lane, or actually this is the outside lane technically overall for turn 1. I feel like I think I'd rather
And
be where Zero is.
yeah, I would too. I mean, Bo does have the inside advantage on the first actual corner there, a little left-hander followed by the right-hander. But Zero definitely has the overall advantage there heading into the first sector of the track.
So
As
we'll
lights
do it real
go
quick from
on
the
here,
back. We've got Inferno, Slay, Bullet, Rev, Hunter, Zach, Big Dean Energy, Fudzy, Seb, Tommy Boy, Botlando, Osh the Great, Project Purple, Boat, and Zero to Hero. A full set of lights, and away we go. Off to a great start is the Porsche and the Audi behind our starting pack. That's going to turn it into a 3 wide moment here. And let's see if we can get through cleanly. Oh, a little bit of scary nearly contact between the BMW and the Porsche, but everybody manages to make it through turn 1 relatively cleanly. This is certainly a nice, strong start. We'll look up to the front of the pack where we've got a GTR and an Audi in a shootout, heading into a nice, tight turn. Let's see if everybody can make it through one more section clean. I'm guessing we're going to start to see the single file shape up here as the back of the grid manages to make it through clean.
you get some contact there at the
And
exit of
we
that corner
do
there,
just a
collecting
little
about.
bit.
Ooh,
Ooh, it
as we
looks
see
like
Fuzzy get
Tommy Boy.
launched off of the track.
Holy cow, out in the distance there, that is going to be Fuzzy getting launched, possibly back to the pits, I would imagine. And is
And
going to
it
have to start
is.
from an unfortunate position. That is interesting. We're going to have to try and find a way to watch that back later today and just kind of analyze what went wrong in that one. I did see it out in the background, but I unfortunately was kind of a little preoccupied. We see Zach Dickinson actually gets a little bit further back in the pack as we see a decent grouping together here. Ooh, Hunter getting slammed into the wall. Manages to keep moving though. Falls behind Bullet, following a little bit of contact with Boat in the Lamborghini. Now that thing is a tank, so Boat may not have even noticed that the contact happened. Boat, being as far back as he is, though, seems like he was involved in the late braking turn into a murder coming out of the Martini Bend. So this
Definitely,
was, sorry.
definitely not the place that I expected there to be an incident.
Yeah, I thought if it was going to happen, it would have happened in the first turn. Ooh, as we see Boat looking to gain a position on the Inferno. This is one hell of a corner to do it, but he's actually not making it look too hard as those guys head through with ease. A little bit of a wiggle from, I want to say that was Bullet, but everybody manages to keep pushing through. El Garito the Great going to be within a passing range, I was going to say, of the Paper Cup Porsche in front. Boat is not very far behind. El Garito, one of the few guys with the pace to stay ahead of him. These guys are actually a pretty far distance away from the leaders. It looks like there's actually 10 seconds separating those main packs. So that's going to be pretty useful for Zero to Hero and Purple if they can keep the pace consistent. We're going to take a look at the back of the pack, though. Tommy Boy looking to start his climb back up to the front finally, as he gets in on the bumper of the Inferno. Oh, and he's going to give him a hand. He's going to give him some speed and try and work together to get up to the rest of the grid. And hopes to be given the space in favor, but not fully. Tommy Boy still struggling to find a way through. It's a very tight track. There's not a lot of opportunity for it. But he finally manages to get by. Ooh, narrowly a little contact there as Zach Dickinson tries to get back on. Looks like most of the racers were able to avoid that contact, and Tommy Boy's going to be trying to move past Dean Energy as well. So Tommy Boy almost back into the top 10. A couple strong moves here over the next few corners could be the difference. As we see Seb Bellew also looking for a chance to get up into the battle for P1. Zero to Hero, though, starting to break away just a little bit.
Tommy looks like he's pushing super hard here, just trying to get as many positions as he can back after that incident there in the first lap. He seems to be doing a great job of it. He's passing driver after driver here in this lap.
Yeah, I mean, he is out cornering a BMW. That is not something that's easy to do in that GTR. I will say he is on the soft tires. Hopefully he's not eating them too much, and he's able to do just 2 stints on softs rather than having to do a short stint and switch to mediums after pushing as hard as he is.
You know, we talked about it during practice there, but Slay is running the hard tire compound.
He is, so I think that is going to lock in the theory that Slay is going for the just fuel stop, hoping that if it comes down to a couple tenths, that's where he's saved them. Tommy Boy with a good recovery there. He had to go well off the throttle and the brakes for a moment to try and get the car to recover, but was able to save it in time. Looks like Seb Bellew might have had a little bit of a spin. He does, I think, even with Project Purple and Botlando, as we see the orange GTR is able to keep moving. He's got Rev in front of him, and Seb Bellew falls close to the clutches of that matte black Lamborghini behind. Botlando and Rev looking for opportunities, but no one able to get by. We've got a nice pack forming here in some of the later stages of the race. Rev gonna fall to about P4, as his teammate Seb's gonna look for a nose through, try and use him as a little bit of a blocker to the GTR in front. We're trying to stay with the action. Let's glance over from Botlando's point of view, maybe. See if that helps out a lot. So it looks like actually everybody's gonna try and single file through and do so successfully, as we see Project Purple hot on the heels of the Lamborghini. This GTR in front currently doing a good job of keeping the pace, but he's really helping his teammate get out further and further. 15 seconds is a pretty big gap for 38 minutes remaining.
That is a very huge gap. And if he can hold on to that, it puts himself in a really good position here for the pit stop, allowing him to lose as little time as possible to the rest of the grid, giving him a comfortable gap when he exits the pit lane here in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and we do have a little bit of a connection issue with Bullet momentarily, but able to reconnect. Does lose a little bit of time in the process, as I think that caused a little bit of an environmental collision. as we watch this main battle for the pack go by. Rev starting to slip away and out of the hunt as Project Purple still hanging on to the Lamborghini in front. Making no mistake by the way the drone cam picked up.
Yeah, we talked about earlier in practice about the two packs forming, and we're really seeing that right now with I would say Garito the Great, followed by Rev in that first pack there, and then it goes back and you see the rest of the pack just about it's like about 10 seconds down to the rest of the grid. But we see those two packs that we talked about forming really early on in the race. I'm curious to see if it stays that way throughout the rest of the race.
Yeah, and that was a big move, by the way, down the straightaway and into turn one for El Garito the Great. The key part is going to be holding this position through these next two turns, as he needs to keep the pace and start chipping away at that 16-second gap in front. If he can, does manage to stay in front through Vito and Martini as well, taking clean lines through each. As we see the battle now current is between the BMW and the Lamborghini, a few spots behind. Boat knows what's happening here. Boat knows exactly who he's got to get through. Sorry.
I was going to make a comment about the GTR here and the 911. We see the GTR being super strong in the straights, but losing a little bit of that time in these tighter corners over Rito the Great there. So it just shows the difference in the cars in this race, as you see how much later that GTR is able to brake than the Porsche coming in to this right-hander after that straight.
Yeah, and
you see Boat now looking for a move on Sebastian. Doesn't quite get around the outside there.
I was going to say, Boat's been looking for a couple of moves, but Seb's been doing a great job taking the defensive line. Boat seeing a few opportunities, but not getting a chance to take them because of the way that BMW is on the corners versus the Lamborghini. Lamborghini has a speed to catch back up, but hard to stick with it through these turns like the carousel.
I will give Sebastian a ton of props here for keeping Boat behind him for so long. It's really really shows a lot about his racecraft. Thinking about the race as is, he knows that that Boat is a super fast racer and that he is looking for the top position. And if Sebastian can keep him behind him throughout the rest of the race, then he knows that he has gained himself a position overall.
Yeah, and I believe Project Purple might be in Sebastian's class, so that might be another motivator, is to keep a car between them. Lando with a little bit of runoff is going to cause a slight loss in speed for Seb. That could be a problem. I'm not sure if Boat had to slow down as well. Project Purple starting to fall a little bit further behind. I don't want to miss this three-way battle into turn one. Boat deciding to choose life and the remaining 34 minutes of the race. Backs out just a little bit. Ooh, and a little bit of contact between the GTR and the BMW going rogue. Seb Bellew now finding himself at the back of this pack and in a dangerous spot, because Boat now is going to get the chance to hunt down Garito in front. Only 6 seconds separating them, but half a second separating their best qualifying lap times. Current lap times only separated by a 10th in Boat's favor. No one really chipping into that lead of 0 to hero, though, I will say.
I think it's going to come down to the pit stop strategy here, as long as 0 to hero can keep it consistent. As we're seeing him lap, he's one of the fastest lapping cars right now on track, 33.0. So he is definitely about half a second faster than the rest of the grid currently, which I'm very curious to see if he's able to hold that as tires degrade throughout this 45-minute race. And curious to see if he does take tires at his pit stop. I assume he will, because he is on that soft compound. That being said, Boat does have clean air now to put up some really solid lap times, as we've talked about quite a bit in the past. Being consistent in these longer races, it's much more important than being fast for one lap and slow for the rest.
Yeah, and although these aren't the most aerodynamic cars, open air really does change the game, both mentally and as far as the aerodynamics go. Just having no one in front of you lets you kind of put the hammer down without having to worry about any pressure or making any big mistakes. Or rather, little ones. Big ones you probably still got to watch out for, right? At this stage in the game.
Oh, for sure. We did talk a little bit about Sebastian being in the same class as Project Purple, and I will say this could be a huge race for Sebastian if he can get in front of Purple because Purple is currently leading by quite a big margin over Sebastian. Sebastian with 38 points, Purple with 54. So if he could get a one up here, that would be huge because if I am correct, this is a 2 times points event.
Absolutely, it is. And lap time is definitely going to come into that. Currently, their best laps nowhere near competitive with the top racers, so it won't be enough to get them back to the pack at this stage unless they find a little bit of extra time here. But Purple is up 4/10. So we're starting to see that separation set in. It took about 5 laps, and we still have a couple of good battles going on, especially this one between the Audi and the BMW. Ooh, as they go neck and neck down the Garito straight. This is going to be interesting, as Project is not going to give in easily. BMW making that outside line look pretty damn quick, though. As not only does he get through, but finds himself starting to creep closer and closer to a positive delta. Both racers really just trying to catch up to that orange GTR in front.
It seems like Project Purple's
Ooh.
having some consistency issues here. To see him riding that wall there on the outside, as we also see Bot Lando having some issues up there in the orange GTR.
Yeah, that was
giving
huge
Sebastian
for Seb.
a clean ticket through that straight there.
Yeah,
The climb
definitely.
between them
Sorry.
is huge at this stage.
So I just want to point out, Futzy is now within 30 seconds of a car, despite being launched over the barrier and teleported back to the pits. So definitely putting on one hell of a show towards the back here. We'll take a moment to check in. So 28.1 seconds down, fastest lap of a 2:37.2. That's going to be faster than everyone outside of the top 10. And definitely going to keep him competitive. So everybody outside of the top 10, he's currently lapping faster than.
Definitely impressive that he's been able to stick it out. Most racers would have decided that this race was not worth it for them after having an incident like that. But awesome to see him still staying on track. Hope to see him gain a few positions before the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, if he can keep up that pace, it does seem like he'll be cutting into that lead significantly quick. He's actually up to 3 seconds ahead of some racers' personal best at this time. So you actually see him now. It says only 13 to 12 seconds away from these two guys battling it out for P13. Is that? So we actually tune in. Boat's going to take the first pit stop 15 minutes in, but misses his pit box. So that's going to be costly. It's only a couple of tenths. We'll see what they end up doing as far as the tires go. Going for the undercut, I'm assuming because of the way the race started out, hoping to just stay on the track and make the most of some clean air. But where are they going to get back out?
It looks like they are going to be towards the back of the pack here.
I think we're
going to see a few.
Sorry, I think they actually stayed in the box for a moment there as well.
Yeah, it very well could have. It seemed like his pit stop was quite a bit longer than I expected it to be. But it could have been a issue with his pit stop strategy setup and a multitude of things.
I also wonder if maybe there was some bodywork fixed or anything like that, just because, again, they were involved in that earlier incident during lap 1.
I did want to point out that Agrito the Great has shrunk the gap from 0 to hero. It's just about 8.5 seconds. Seems to be bouncing around from 8 to 8.5 seconds now, which is just proving how consistent he can be here throughout this race. We'll see if he's able to make that time up before they both go into the pits there. That'd be huge for him if he could shrink that gap down even more.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely cut it in half since he was able to start his hunt, getting past, I believe, Bot Lando at the time. Lando currently 3 seconds away from Seb Bellew, with Project Purple chasing from behind him. You know, Tommy Boy's got to be desperate to get through. You see that he's made his way pretty far up the grid now. That one we haven't really checked in on in a bit, but his best lap is a 2:34, which is faster than everybody outside of the top two. I guess boat excluded at the moment. So Tommy Boy, I think, is going to get up to his old pal in the orange GTR any moment now. And if he can, I think both of these guys are going to come alive and start to chip in on that lead to the BMW in front.
You see Rev having a little incident there, tapping that inside curb as
Ooh.
Tommy gives him a little tap on the rear bumper, saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, didn't mean to hit you there." But makes it through it cleanly and doesn't hurt his Delta too much.
Yeah, he is able to get back the speed before starting his next lap. 4 seconds now separating him and the Audi of Project Purple ahead. We do, looking around the grid, see a couple of other battles starting to shape up. Zach Dixon within 3 to 4 seconds of the Inferno in the Porsche for P12. Boat starting the journey now that he's back out of the pits. I think we actually see somebody has spun out. That might be Bullet. It is. So that's going to put Fudzy within fighting range of someone for the first time since the beginning laps of this race. I think that's going to be a good moment for him and give him a second wind. I think we'll start to see those faster times that we saw during qual. As I say that, he's got a little bit of a deep dive, finds himself 10 seconds off his Delta this lap. But again, with a car only 3 seconds away, I can't imagine this isn't where he starts pushing. So let's see what he can do. 25 minutes remaining. Only one car has pit. That's going to be Boat, taking the alternative strategy.
You know, I'll say that Fuzzy here is doing a great job of continuing this race. I'm looking at his class here. He is currently in the amateur class, sitting P1 with 55 points, and just completing this race will give him quite a few points here, as we only have 3 other drivers that I can see that are on grid that are within his class. If he's able to make up a couple more positions, he'll be able to put himself in a position to get that P3 in his class today.
And who else is he up against here today?
You know, he is fighting with Hunter, Big Dean Energy, Slay, and Christian C, followed by Anatomism, who we haven't seen much of this season, bringing up the rear of the amateur class. So we'll see if he's able to make a few more passes, putting himself in a better position for his points in his class.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's not out of the question. Oh, speaking of questions, we were wondering when we would start to see some of the pit opportunities. Looks like we'll have them now, as Seb will be the first one to hit the pit box. Project Purple right behind. We'll see if that gets any of these other racers to consider doing a stop. Doesn't look like anyone's going to take it just now. Oh, that'll be Seb's BMW. Rev 174. Seb able to stay in front of Project Purple out of the pits. Ooh, it does seem like he's got a decent gap, as we see quite a few racers coming in. Hunter is going to be trying to catch up to Seb, but Seb going to be on those fresh tires. That might work out relatively nicely for him. We see Project Purple made it out pretty cleanly, but that's actually Boat right there. So Project Purple manages to stay ahead of Boat. Seems like actually gained 5 seconds in the process. So something definitely happened on Boat's pit lap, as Boat's been lapping about 3 seconds faster than Project Purple since his pit. So Boat's been making up time on whatever the incident was. So I think maybe there was some kind of I'm not sure exactly what happened. It must be the overstop was the big difference there. But back on the hunt now, looking pretty good, as is Zach Dickinson in the number 9 Audi, as he hunts down the Inferno in front.
I did want to point something out. I do see there may have been a mistake there by Zero to Hero, as El Grito the Great has put himself in the first position with a gap of 6 seconds.
Oh, geez, yeah. Well, yeah, we didn't see that. Let's take a look. I do see a lot of damage to the front end of this GTR and some damage to the back. Definitely never want to see damage to the back of the car. That is a sign of poor things. 16 seconds off his delta this lap, so that does mean that there was an incident somewhere in Sector 2. So El Gorito the Great is going to try and make the most of that. Zero doing what I would do there and trying to just chalk this one up to the pit lap. If you're going to lose time, lose it all at once. That way you know how far you have to go. El Garito the Great has not yet gone for the pit, so we'll check in with him for a little here, see how much longer he wants to stay out. He is on sauce in the Porsche, and he seems to be one of the longest ones out there.
Yeah, it seems like quite a few of our top drivers are now entering the pits. So we see Tommy Boy and Zero to Hero both in the pits. The Porsche does eat tires quickly compared to some of the other cars on the grid. So I'm curious to see how his tires are looking right now and if he's able to keep them alive as long as possible. I will say this could help him, giving him the overcut, giving him nicer tires towards the end of the race. But that could backfire on him, as he is going to lose a little bit of time in these final laps before the pit stop, as his tires are super, super weak. So we can see him putting up 2:33.95, which is over a second and a half down compared to what he was running previously towards the beginning of the race on fresh tires. So definitely going to be interesting to see if his strategy pays off for him.
Yeah, and now I will say I noticed Boat is still on soft tires. So if the early pit stop was because he was having issues with how long he could drag those out, we could see a 2-stop strategy from Vote today. So that
It's
would.
definitely going to be. It's definitely going to be one of the more alternative strategies here. I do see a little bit of damage on the right side of his rear quarter panel there, so he may have had another incident there. Hoping that doesn't affect his car or his lap time too much. But like you said, him pitting super early because of tires could be an issue if he's still on those softs. But the Porsche does eat tires more quickly, so I don't know if I think that it is a tire issue. I think that it may have been just a repair issue, just wanting to get that car fixed up as early as possible to save himself as much time in the long run.
Yeah, and you do see he's already got a little bit of motivation up front as Project Purple looking to catch up to the BMW and put a little distance between himself and Boat, but running out of time to do it, as Boat now dabbling within the 2-second mark. Certainly going to be within striking distance over the course of the next lap. 18 minutes remaining, or rather just over. Did forget to mention the winds dropped down to 9 kilometers an hour, but a tailwind on the straight for the first time for these guys. Doesn't seem to be affecting lap times too much, as El Garito sitting with a 2:32.4 on that last lap.
That does prove my point incorrect there, as he is able to keep himself relatively close to his best time, even with those 20 and a half and 25 odd minutes on those soft tires that he has, which is very impressive, as those, like I've been saying repeatedly throughout this race, that those Porsches do tires more quickly than a lot of other cars on the grid.
Yeah, and I mean, the funniest part is he actually set a purple sector 3 on that lap. So it was at the end of the lap when the tire wear would have been at its lowest or at its worst that he was able to do that. Oh, a nice move by Project Purple, forcing the Lamborghini to be a little bit competitive through the spoon, but into the Garito straight. You'll see that acceleration really open up, and Project will start to follow the leader. That being said, it is very hard to tell where the cards lie until El Garito heads to the pits. I believe Zero to Hero is the man to beat right now. 6.5 seconds away from Big Dean Energy, who has not yet done his pit stop. As you see Project Purple pushing it to the limits. Boat also doing the same, trying to find a way past Lando. Everybody starting to get a little bit cozy. We'll see if Project Purple is able to pull out a through goes Hamilton. He looks for one. Oh, and it causes a little bit of contact with Boat. He's going to slow down to let Boat through, as is the gentlemanly thing to do, and both racers will get back on the hunt to the orange GTR, but they have a new problem in the form of Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy now eager to join this battle for P5. As El Garito does not pit once more, heading out for another lap on the soft tires. He is a madman. So he is going to be at least 30 minutes on soft tires in the Porsche at 24-degree track temps. That is one dangerous man through this course, as he's certainly not letting up. Only a half second off his lap time on his previous best. As Big Dean Energy finally decides it is not worth trying to keep up with that.
We see Dean putting himself in the pits now after 11 laps in that Ferrari 458. We see Zero to Hero taking that position back, as he's already completed his stop, if I'm correct.
You are, yes, indeed.
So he is in a really good spot here, considering the fact that El Grito has not finished his stop yet. If he can keep himself within about 15 seconds of El Grito the Great, he will have a good chance of winning this race here with only about 15 minutes left.
Yeah, I will say it looks like Dean's stop was roughly 30 seconds. So if I'm correct, we could be looking at still about a 10-15 second gap when El Garito comes out of the pits, as they're not going to have to put a lot of fuel in, so it'll really just be however long the tires take. Ooh, as we see Project Purple take a little Tokyo drift line through Vito into Martini, but holds on and is able to stay competitive as these guys all file in to follow Boat towards the battle for the podium spots. Seb Bellew now only 2.2 seconds away. Going to turn our attention a little further back in the grid. Rev 174 in one of Zach D's favorites, the Z4. Currently trying to chase him down, as we see that Audi going a little bit wide. That's going to give the BMW a nice, easy chance to make it through. But I don't think that battle is over yet. El Grito the Great finally going into the pits. We're going to keep an eye on the leaderboard to see where he comes out. I don't want to tune away just yet. Ooh, as these guys are certainly close together, not leaving too much room for error, barely enough room for each other. They managed to stay on the fight. Zach still looking for a way through, possibly going to look for a nose on this inside here. Goes back to the outside, but manages to pull over. Rev turns a little early, but both racers managed to carry on towards the carousel. So El Garito the Great coming out behind Zero the Hero.
Yeah, from what I've seen, Zero to Hero's been putting up pretty solid lap times here. Only a couple tenths off of his best there. So we'll see if he's able to hold off El Garito being 13, 14 seconds down coming out of the pits, as that time is still continuing to rise, about 15, 16 seconds now gap there. So we'll see if he's able to make that 15 seconds up in the last 12 and a half minutes of this race. Zero to Hero has put up an awesome performance today, getting himself out front really early.
Mhm.
I hope to see him hold off that lead position from El Garito.
I do wish we had checked in to see exactly what had happened as far as the pit stop went for El Garrido. I have a sneaky suspicion that is more time than typical, as I don't think we've seen 46 seconds be given up in a pit strategy just yet.
Yeah, I will say he only needed to add a little bit more fuel and just swap tires there. So he probably had the lightest fuel load out of anybody on the circuit to put into his car there on that stop. So and fuel typically takes the longest amount of time to put in a car, especially the GT3s that can hold quite a bit of fuel.
Now, I do wonder if he literally rolled it into the pit lane as far as the fuel goes, as I'm not sure just how long you are able to drag that out. That's one thing I hadn't considered. Beautiful battle going on here, but also want to check in with Hunter and Slay 40 in the Paper Cup Porsche heading through Martini. Got a couple of guys going neck and neck right now, trying to make sure we capture all the action as we head into the final 11 minutes. A little Tokyo drift there is going to give the BMW an opportunity, but we've seen this movie before. A little nose in. Ooh. Well, the movie didn't end like that last time. Hunter doing the gentlemanly thing and waiting for Slay to go through. The Inferno's going to split the difference as Slay is able to get back on the move. We'll give these guys some time to recover as we actually see Tommy Boy making his way into the hunt in the Subi S. Still sitting P7. He has been for quite some time, but he certainly has been consistent ever since his incident that I think put him all the way down to P13 at one point. He's really worked well to carve his way through the grid. Has a chance of finishing inside the top 5 at least today. Current lap times are going to make it a little bit tough for him to catch all the way up to Seb Bellew in front, but open air would give him a chance if he can pull this off this lap. He needs to get by both cars. Now, if he wants to have enough time to change things. Project Purple finding himself in a dangerous move as the magnet always brings these GTRs together. Jawa, how many races have we watched these guys now?
Oh, it's been quite a few, and Tommy is, as we speak, asserting his dominance there in that GTR, putting himself in the inside there, diving again, shoving Project Purple out wide, and slotting right in behind Bot Lando. The two GTRs now following one behind the other, looking to put a little bit of distance behind Project Purple in the rookie racing Audi.
And
As Tommy does
Project,
have to touch his brake a tad.
I was going to say, Project able to get a little bit closer there. Oh, as Tommy, I think, knows what he needs to do, all looks for the opportunity, but doesn't find it. That's going to force a little bit of, ooh, wow. We had a late break for there from Bot Lando, a little bit of contact with the wall, which is actually going to break the glass on Project Purple's windshield. We both know how hard that can turn racing into. So that might be an advantage for Tommy Boy. He might still be able to pull off one more pass as you see both racers brakes glowing as they try and get by each other. Hunter momentarily found himself ahead of Slay 40, but is back behind once more, going to have to find another way through.
I'm curious if Project Purple has any suspension damage because he did take a huge hit on that right side there on that wall. I'm curious to see if that slows down his lap times at all, as
Well,
Tommy does eat a ton of time up in those S's there, which is where the GTRs are one of the slower cars.
I can get that information for you. We'll take a look here at his wheel. Once he gets around into the straightaway, ooh, or not. And I kind of think that answers our question for us. I don't think we've seen him do something like that yet. Yeah, you can
Seems like
see
the
it's
pressure,
slightly, I think, to the left. No, or maybe not.
it's pretty close there, but I will say that I think the pressure, along with the slight amount of damage he has, is definitely compiling itself and making it difficult for him to set these decent lap times here, as Tommy is pulling away there from the Audi R8 of Project Purple.
Yeah, now 2.5 seconds away, and also has clean air to make up that 6-second gap we were looking at earlier. We haven't actually seen any lapping opportunities in this race, but Zero to Hero seems to be getting pretty close. So finding his way almost to Bullet now will definitely come together at some point. So hopefully he can make it through clean, because El Garito and Boat are certainly only one incident away. Boat doing a great job of
Well,
making a comeback, actually, looking at where he is.
for sure, I will say Boat is going to put a lot of pressure on El Grito the Great, as El Grito is not able to really shrink that gap to Zero to Hero in P1. So I'm curious if the pressure from behind is not allowing him to set those best lap times here, because he should be on fresh tires and a relatively light fuel load compared to the rest of the drivers on grid.
Yeah, and again, we've only seen Boat pit once, so it is going to be a big question to see how this late stages of the race come into play, as those soft tires are definitely going to start to wear out a little bit. That being said, currently the fastest lap of the race was last lap from Boat, a 2:31.9. So it just goes to show that Jawa and I never really know exactly what we're talking about.
That is 100% accurate. Anything can happen in these races, and it always ends up proving us wrong in some way.
Absolutely. So getting into the final 5 minutes here, I do see that we've got a lot of racers basically within a second or two of each other here. So I think we are going to see a few more battles to the line. I don't think anything is all wrapped up just yet. We do see the lap traffic moment starting to come together, as Zero to Hero going to have to make it past that Audi of Bullet in front. Bullet, I think, knows who it is next to him, so hopefully won't be too much of an issue. Nope, Bullet heavy on the brakes to make sure that GTR makes it through cleanly. Kind of a nice opportunity to let him go by.
Bullet knows that he is 45 seconds down from the car in front of him, and knows that it's not worth risking another driver's race here, just for one measly overtake. So definitely a smart move by him. And curious to see how he plays the rest of this race out with only about 5 minutes remaining here. Sorry, I'm staying corrected. 3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. I see Hunter
Wow.
taking a big dive on the outside there on Slay, as he looks like he might make this pass work, as Slay tucks in behind here at the end of the S's. Who
And
has a little bit of a spin there.
yeah, a little bit of contact both in and out of Mount Vesuvius from these guys, but we're able to keep it clean. Hunter letting Slay go by. And he'll have to be heavy on the gas as we're heading into, I believe, probably the final 2, maybe 3 laps of the race. Actually taking a look at where El Garito is, it's definitely going to be 2 laps left. Or sorry, where Zero to Hero is. So these guys
All
are going
Zero
to have
here has
to...
to do.
Sorry?
Oh, sorry. Oh, the Discord lag there. They get to talk to each other. But I was saying that Zero to Hero, all he has to do is just keep it, or do is keep it consistent here for the last 2.5 minutes, and it looks like he might have this race in the bag.
Yeah, I don't see too much competition there unless he has a mistake. Definitely some competition still in the battle for P2, as well as this one we're watching to try and get into the top 10, as we see the Inferno not safe from the battle between Hunter and the Paper Cup Porsche developing in front of us. Boat cutting that lead down to 1.5 seconds towards El Garito the Great. But still will have to get by him, and that is not a man who's going to make it easy. position that will certainly have to be earned when the time comes. Same goes between Hunter and Slay. We've seen these guys pretty close together, I want to say, for the last 4 or 5 laps now. Hunter not able to find a way around, needs to keep pushing.
As Hunter is doing exactly that, pushing his braking points to the absolute limit, trying to gain as much time as he can here on the Paper Cup Porsche. I would say that's one of my favorite names for any of the GT3 cars here today, is that Paper Cup Porsche. Awesome livery. Reminds me of when I was younger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got a great nostalgic feel to it without overdoing the nostalgia. You know, it's just such a subtle nod to the glorious designs that be. Honestly, it makes me miss that one wallpaper with the pipes that used to just go all over the place in random directions.
Oh, most definitely.
That was I could watch that for hours. Ooh, almost a late break opportunity going wrong there from Hunter. Manages to avoid the contact, but finds himself in a tricky spot with only 1 lap to go. As I don't think, actually, Zero to Hero is going to make it around, I believe, for another one. He doesn't have to, but I think he's going to. And that might give Boat the opportunity that he's looking for to make something happen, as he hasn't been able to get close enough to El Garito in front.
I was just going to mention that myself, that these two are within about a second of each other, and with that 1 extra lap coming into play, that could definitely change things, as Boat is lapping about just under a second faster than El Grito there in the Repsol Porsche.
Yeah, this will be, a big moment here, I was going to say, as a small mistake from the great is a costly one. This might put Boat within drafting range down the second straightaway. We'll see as after these guys come out of turn 1 where they end up. On our final lap now, we've got Boat chasing down El Garito, Tommy Boy chasing down Seb, Slay chasing down the Inferno, and Hunter trying to make his way back up to that battle.
Yeah, Boat now within half a second of El Grito there in the Porsche. Curious to see if he's able to make a move here. Any small mistake from El Grito can spell disaster here for him holding off that P2 position. Wherever they do place, being top 3 is still a very impressive run, as Boat has come back from being involved in that very big incident there on lap 1.
Speaking of coming back, Tommy Boy is within the top 5 we see here, but has a chance to take it even further. Looking to get into the top 4. As Zach Dickinson also looking to get 1 more position there, see if he can get P12 away from Hunter. Don't want to miss anything here. Looks like Tommy Boy won't be taking it on this turn. Can Zach Dickinson find the opportunity through the final turn? And a late braking opportunity is going to take away that chance for the moment. Back to Tommy Boy in the GTR, looking for his way past the Z4. Again, Seb not one to make it easy. Tommy Boy gets a nose in towards the carousel. We're going to check over with Boat for a second as they head into Mount Vesuvius. This tends to be where the time is gained or lost. And Boat goes a little bit wide, and I think that's going to give El Garito the chance he needs. It'll all come down to the final turn. We do want to check in with Tommy Boy and Seb through Vesuvius if we can. But that's going to be
locked
it.
in P1.
So 0 to Hero locks in P1. We did see El Garito going to get away with P2. Tommy Boy looking for a chance to sneak in as Boat gets P3, but P4 up for grabs. It'll all come down to the final turn. Tommy Boy going for a little bit of a tighter line. Has to hammer on the brakes, though, to avoid contact. And that might be it, but it's a shootout to the straight. Tommy Boy accidentally gives the bump draft. Oh, no. It was almost a balls to the wall finish, but unfortunately, the slight bump draft does actually help Seb Bellew stay in front. A difference of only 7/100th of a second to separate them. We do see Lando not able to catch up to Project Purple there. Big Dean Energy crossing the grid, and then a little bit of a gap here before we get to the remainder of our pack. Everybody starting to look locked in at this stage.
Definitely very, very awesome race there for our top guys. Love seeing the races like this that are a little bit longer, just showing that some of these guys are more adept to racing for longer periods of time than others. But again, an awesome race to watch as we see Hunter there just behind Inferno.
Oh, Inferno's run out of gas, and it looks like Hunter was going to help him and at least got him onto a downhill. That should give him some speed and help for now. We'll see if anybody else is going to help him out. I do see second position El Garito the Great and first position 0 to Hero are still racing down the track, so maybe they will be trying to get over there. Slay 40 goes a little bit wide into the pits, as we see by the live timings, and Fudzy making up 2 positions after getting flipped over the wall. That is one hell of a finish.
Very unfortunate there for the Inferno.
I was going to say, unfortunately, we were not able to get back out there to help. The Inferno will not be able to cross the line. So I'm not sure where that will put them in the overall standings for today's events. But that's going to wrap things up. I'd say that's one hell of a race, one strong performance from everybody. Get a nice little break for next week, and we'll see you guys for week 5.